souvenir from China.
Oh, an omiyage is a souvenir?
A Chinese souvenir from my husband's business trip. So.
That's great. He goes to China a lot, huh?
Not a lot. It's very rare. He's kind of in marketing, so he doesn't often get to go, but they had a lot of budget left at the end of the year, so he got to go to the sales big kickoff for Asia Pacific. So it was kind of a one-time deal.
That's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah, great. And a great opportunity for him to go traveling. So.
Well, you won't be seeing me. You're just going to see, I'm going to see you, but
Sure.
Franny told me not to try to put myself in the movies because I'm a postage stamp on the screen, so you can't really see me anyway. And plus, it's better to focus on the the person, and also there's a camera in front of my face. I got this thing sitting here, so you can't see me anyway. But no, you look good. You look very nice today.
Oh, thank you.
This is the.
I was playing hard, went to the park with my daughter, and then we went to a radium hot spring afterwards, so that might explain it.
Oh, that is nice. That's very nice. Near near your house, huh?
Yeah, like about a 20-minute train ride. So in Tokyo, that's right next door, basically. So.
Right, sure. Yeah. So you're not in? Are you in Tokyo or like?
I'm right in Tokyo.
Oh, you're right in Tokyo. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the southern part, so I'm closer to the ocean.
I see. How's the pollution where you are?
Because we're a bit closer to the ocean, we get a lot of wind.
Oh, good.
And, we get more ocean air than we do car air, but, it's still crap.
Yeah.
Basically, I ride my bicycle to take my daughter to school, and so it takes me about a half an hour to ride to her school. And inevitably, my nose always starts to run.
Oh, God.
And I know it's just the pollution. My nose is just saying, oh my God, get it out,
Well, that's the kind of thing that could give you tonsillitis.
Yeah, well, it's one of the challenges. I know that it's very difficult to be 100% healthy in an environment that's so destroyed, the car pollution, the asphalt, there's the indoor air pollution. There's many aspects, and the quality of food. I do my best. I buy organic and that kind of stuff, but
right.
The environment is just damaged. So it's a big challenge to stay optimal.
But you eat in a detoxing way, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I do, but I tend to sort of have waves, where I'm like really strict and I eat really well, and then, then I lose it and I start to like go crazy. Like the biggest problem I have is in Japan, they're masters of dessert. It should be against the law. In North America, my experience has been a cream puff that's this big,
right,
has like this much cream in it, right?
Right.
Like, where's the cream? You have to find the cream. But no, in Japan, a cream puff this big has like this much shell, and it's all cream in the middle.
Yeah, right.
I ate one every day for 2 months when I got here.
Oh my God. But it's interesting you don't put weight on.
No, well, I can. It does happen sometimes, but I think it's more of a stress-related thing. Like, if I'm really miserably unhappy, I'll get fat.
Right.
But I'm hardly ever like that anymore. Now I'm really like too happy. Like in Chinese medicine, we're not supposed to be too happy either. It unstabilizes the system. So I think sometimes that gets me going the wrong way too. So
maybe Chinese medicine is wrong.
Maybe it is. It could be. I'm open to that.
I mean, people are capable of being wrong about something for thousands of years.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, I don't want to say anything, but there's Christianity.
Thank you. That was very well put. Very well put.
Edit that. My parents are Lutherans, They're Christians, so I don't really.
Poor guys.
I don't. Anyway.
That's absolutely wonderful. Christianity is so paradoxical because you meet Christians and they have so many wonderful qualities that people in other religions have a lot of trouble assimilating. And they just have, and they can be so good and so enlightening to be with, and so it can be so illuminating to talk to them, and then they turn right around and say the stupidest thing, that's just so dogmatic and like absolutely patently ridiculously wrong and dumb. And it's amazing, and yet they connect with God through Christianity. There's a lot of Christians with very strong God connections, and then a lot of Christians don't have very much God connection. They go to church and they're not connected with God. They're sitting in church, not connected with God.
That's why I left the church when I was around 13, and because I said, I don't know why I'm going there, so what's the point, I didn't have any connection, and I could see that, there was ritual and community, but I didn't sense, I didn't feel anything, and I didn't really understand the ritual, so I was like, I'm not getting anything out of this.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was 13, so I said, you know what, I don't think I believe in God, I don't get that, I don't buy it, so I was an actual atheist from the age of 13 until about 23.
Well, I have a little interesting story to share with you about myself. My parents were communists. And we lived on Miami Beach in Florida. And they taught me that religion was the opiate of the masses and that it was used to keep people in slavery. And keep people in their place, and, so they wouldn't try to get beyond their station. And that the whole thing was a hoax. Then around when I was 15, I encountered Meher Baba in the form of a person who was connected to him. And he had a car, and we used to go out and pick up girls together. So I used to listen to stories about Meher Baba all night, unless we met some girls, and then he'd start talking to them about it. And they
for picking up dates.
Yeah, and they loved it, So we had fun, and about a year later, I, connected with Meher Baba myself, and I've been with him ever since. And it's been good for me. Because you wouldn't have the cure for your tonsillitis if I hadn't met this guy and bonded to Meher Baba, because this is Meher Baba's work, what we're doing here. See, but I'm supposed to be asking you the questions, and I know that you've done a lot of really good New Age things, like Reiki, I guess, right?
For me, I use EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. So, and now I'm doing healing codes as well. And I've done a lot of seminar work, and...
What sort of seminar work?
Well, at the beginning, I took a seminar with a character named Dov Barron, who's working out of Vancouver right now. And he's really charismatic. His purpose in life is to raise consciousness. So he's really in your face, kind of like, you're depressed? Stop that! Just fucking get up and do something, Like he's that kind of... speaker. So he kind of kicked me off my sofa, I was completely, utterly depressed and watching TV my whole life,
right.
When I wasn't working, which often I wasn't, just in a low-grade depression and
sure.
Basically like that. Anyway, so I started with him, and he kind of kicked me out of that and got me into the whole law of attraction kind of stuff, and, that's quite a few years ago. And then I started to sort of...
When was that? How many years ago? What year?
That would be 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Yeah, so 7 or 8 years ago.
Like 2003 you're talking.
It's 2012 now, so 7 or 8 years ago, yeah.
2005.
2005, about 2005 or 6. So... At that point, I woke up and I quit my government job. I divorced my really not great relationship of 11 years and started a whole new life. I rented an apartment on the beach. I learned how to kayak. I learned how to sail a boat. I played tennis every day. I went for lunch every day with my friends and stuff. Yeah, I just went crazy. But
so your life, you took your life into your hands. You know, you went
exactly.
to this an inspirational seminar.
Yes.
What was the name of the seminar?
So
what do they call the seminar?
So Dov Baron, it's Baron Mastery Institute, is he's the company that's running it. And I forget the name of the.
Let me ask you. Okay,
yeah.
that's good. I think you've got something people could look up there that you gave them just now. So that's what I want to just get, you know, like clear about something that people can research on the web for themselves. But the question I have here is, what would you say the difference is between that and Immunics?
Well, I have a sense sort of that Immunics is kind of hard for people who've never done any kind of energy healing or never been exposed to the sort of alternative, the new age stuff, like as you put it. You know, I find that people who've never stepped into any of that stuff, they have no idea that any of this stuff is happening underneath. They just, you know, they're just perceiving the flat land. You know, they're just
right.
You know, I find that really, my suspicion is that people who are living like that, if they see Immunics, they won't even see it.
Right.
You know, it'll just be like, they'll be like, that's weird. Okay, next. You know,
what do you think? What do you think happens to them when they see the cure drive? Like those same people who don't have no experience with anything, and then they encounter the bumper sticker on my car that says the cure drive. How do you think they relate to it?
My sense is that people would feel like, what's that? You know, like there's so much stuff out there. There's so much advertising and all of these. There's so much information out there that I'm not sure it would, you know, if somebody's not ready for that, they probably wouldn't even give it a second thought. But I don't know, you know, because for me, I'm different, right?
Well, let me go back to the basic question with, you know, which is, what's the difference between this and Dolph?
And Dolph?
Yeah, Dolph Baron, you know, just for you, you know, like the way you've experienced that and this, what's the difference in your experience of, what have you been doing this for, like 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's only like 4 weeks.
3-4 weeks. So what's the difference?
So the difference for me is that Immunics is very subtle. Like, I find it to be very subtle, but extremely powerful. I don't mean that it's, you know, it's light or anything. I find it very, very deep. But I feel like that's because I get it. You know, I know what's going on.
Right.
But like with Dolph Baron, or, you know, just sort of those kind of seminars, it's, you know, how to have your best life and become rich and beautiful, and, you know, like it's that kind of catch.
Yeah, it's not subtle.
It's not subtle. Nothing subtle about it.
Well, you know, let's put it this way. I doubt seeing like when you did his workshop and you went kayaking, and I started doing this, and I went for long walks in the park doing this, and that's a difference for me. If I just share about myself, you know, can you see any other differences?
Well, you know, the major difference is kind of the, you know, the point of Immunics is to cure things, right?
Yeah.
And so other seminars and stuff that I've participated in, it didn't have that kind of, it's like, yes, you can be rich and you can have perfect health and all this kind of stuff using the law of attraction or whatever, but it was all still sort of like exterior. Right. You know, even though like law of attraction stuff, like whatever you think will change the outside, and, you know, if you have positive thoughts or if you use your feelings and, you know, and change the way that you think, then your outside will change. So that's it though. But with Immunics, it's like just rearrange your whole system. It's like purposely, intentionally go in and take out the crap and put in the good stuff and rearrange your whole system. So it's very different, very different.
Right. Well, now, see, here we come to, you were saying that you're an EFT practitioner. No?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that means, do you actually work at that? I mean, you do that with people?
I'm certified, but I haven't started working with people, so I think I have a little bit of a, I'm not so much a one-on-one kind of person. I'm not really interested in sitting with people one-on-one. I'm more of a sort of an instructor.
You know what? I have to say, me too. I have to go with you. And you know Barb.
Well, I don't know her, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. She's a one-on-one person. That's what she likes. She's good with groups, and she does them. And she's great. Barb can stop a party, and everybody will listen to her, and she'll teach 30 people how to cure something. Awesome. She does that, and she goes to a lot of parties. So that's an option for her. Because in Santa Fe there are a lot of parties. It's a party culture. Every week there's like 2 or 3 parties that people, and there's this like network of like hundreds of people, who are like involved in that stuff. I used to live in Santa Fe. So so that's what she likes. Me, on the other hand, Barb is a perfect henchwoman for me because she likes the one, like I just throw people at her. I say, oh, call Barb, and she'll spend hours with somebody. And I just go bananas. I used to be a shrink. And I quit, after 3 years. I couldn't stand it. So anyway, it was funny because I loved studying it and I really enjoyed, but when I went into practice, I saw the limitations of it. You have to do it to see the limitations. So there's my comparison of Immunics with shrinking, but back to you, and back to EFT. What is EFT?
So the emotional freedom technique is using your fingertips to tap on meridian points in your body, which causes a relaxation response, and you connect it with whatever you're trying to clear, so a negative feeling, a phobia, or any kind of sort of problem that you have. So when you're consciously thinking about the problem and you cause a physical relaxation response, it breaks the pattern, the habit patterns that are associated with those particular thoughts or actions or that kind of stuff. So
to just do that little tapping like you demonstrated a minute ago.
Sure.
So it's this tapping.
So it's just a tapping system where we just tap on a certain number of meridians, and that basically reactivates the whole system.
Right. So now let me ask this, okay? Just from that short explanation of what it is, then what is Immunics and how do you relate the two?
Okay.
So give me the elevator pitch like you did with EFT on Immunics.
Okay. Give me a second to... That's a good one. That's a good question. I have to think about that for a second. So my reaction is to say it's working in collaboration with God or the universe or whatever you want to call it to align yourself with God or the universe or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so that's what Immunics is.
That's what I would call it.
Okay. Now, what's the difference between the two things?
Well, EFT does it have any God in it? Well, I mean, everything does, but it doesn't have that collaboration, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Okay, so what you're actually saying, which is true, by the way, is that Immunics is a religion. This is a church. Yeah. This is actually a church, and people donate to it. EFT is a business, and people join, and they, pay for the services, and you charge people and so on. and we do everything by donations, and it's all about connecting to God. And like any church, you know, like I'm watching, this is an interesting thing I'll share with you. We were talking about Christianity before. Mm-hmm. I'm watching, there's a television series called The Borgias.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching that. And this guy is he's the most lecherous, you know, treacherous person on earth. And yet he's the Pope, and he wants to be connected to God. Mm-hmm. And this is us. Like, we watch ourselves moving away from God, and we bring ourselves back. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's integral into the whole curing. Mm-hmm. You know, because boy, when you're disconnected from God, you can't cure a hangnail. But see, the problem is when you can be very God connected and still not cure your cancer. So you actually have to kill the cancer cells and take the cancer out of the DNA and do all the activity, the actions, and God will do them with you, but you have to do them. God doesn't, and you know, I'll tell you something, there have been people who've cured things. Like, I was listening to a lecture by a Christian minister named Joel Osteen. You ever hear of him? He's a good guy, you know, he's a very sweet person. And he was talking about how his mother got cancer. She was diagnosed terminal. And she walked around the house saying, God, you don't want me to die. It's not my time, you know, to take this away. Well, that was 20 years ago, and she was sitting in the front row of the sermon, listening to the sermon in this auditorium where he was speaking. So people do cure just with pure God connection or the law of attraction and so on. All that stuff happens. But what we're trying, she doesn't know how she cured her cancer, you know, other than that she asked God and he did it. But what we're trying to do, what happened actually was she did, in an unintentional and possibly accidental way, what we train people to do intentionally. So that's what you're doing. You're training yourself to do these things intentionally. And so I'd say that's another. How does that differ? Since you're inside of EFT in a way that I'm not, how does that differentiate from EFT?
Well, like I said, in EFT we don't talk about God and, you know, and collaborating with God or anything to do with anything sort of religious. It's definitely a non-religious sort of technique, you know. Although, is it really? I can't, you know, what's really going on, you know, nobody really talks about that, you know, what is really going on, you know. It's just by tapping on you, getting a relaxation response by, you know, and all the energy meridians and all that kind of stuff. You know, so we're talking about one energy body.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, you know, like just the you know, the chakra system, basically, the Chinese map of the energy system.
Well, you just said something there. I don't want to go past that so fast. Let's go. Let's roll back.
Sure.
You said you're talking about one energy body.
Basically, you know, and
Which one are you talking about?
Well, in EFT, that would be the only one.
Yeah, well, which one is it?
Well, that's the thing. We don't talk about that, right?
You don't talk about what?
About what the energy body is, or...
You mean they don't say what energy body they're working on?
No.
In EFT, they don't say they're working on the etheric body?
No, of course not.
Why don't they say that? Well, that's what they're working on. Why don't they say they're working on it?
Well, because they don't know that.
They don't know they're working on the etheric body.
I've never met anybody who told me that, so...
Really?
Well,
now you just taught me something about EFT, you know. And I'll tell you something. I've looked over the EFT website and watched some EFT movies and so on. So I thought I knew a little, but now I'm realizing that you know a lot more than I do about it. And I'm glad I'm having this conversation with you.
You know, it's basically it's more treated like an acupressure. You know, like it's acupressure. That's the angle that we go from, especially.
Yeah, but acupressure works on the etheric body.
Yeah, But if we start talking about the etheric body, a lot of people who just want to solve their problems and don't have any interest in spiritual stuff will start going, okay, whatever, and go the other direction.
I want to say, there's something I want to share with you right now, and I think that this is important for me to tell you and everybody, that watches this movie, which is, the real truth is that, we've put up a web college and anybody can access it and it's here for everyone. Okay? In that sense, we have not betrayed or excluded anybody. We're not saying, hey, but the truth is, we're only interested in certain people. And those are the people who are not like the person who you just described.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you talk about how you don't like working with people one-on-one, maybe you would if you found somebody who was really interested in deep.
Yes, yeah. No, I agree.
But see, the problem is people who just want to solve their problems and so on, you can't pay me enough money to work with them. And maybe it's because I'm almost 70 or whatever, but really I was the same way when I was shrinking, and that was in the early 70s. And I just didn't want to do it. And I had great patients. I love my patients, and I started doing seminars with them. I found that the seminar, Dr. Phil said the same thing. You know who Dr. Phil is?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, there's a famous quote of his, that I'll share with you. He said that he was doing couples counseling with this couple, and he said, I can see why your marriage is breaking up. I don't like either one of you. So the idea was, if they could maybe become more likable generally, that maybe their marriage would work better.
That's one of my rules of relationship, is deal with your own shit.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Phil is enlightened. I like him. He's funny and fun to listen to. Well, now, okay, so we can move on. What I wanted to tell you is that I like making these things kind of short. Yeah. With each session, I like to make each session short. And I'm wondering if maybe we could just meet again soon rather than trying to go on now.
Well, I would really like to find out about how to do Immunics for my daughter.
Yes, yes, I'll tell you what. Why don't we take another 15 minutes and do that?
That would be fabulous.
And then, but see, okay, so I'm going to start, and this is called the 2-year-old cure program. And the idea is, there's several ideas of this. One of them is to simply have your daughter develop faster and more effectively and in a more balanced and complete way. Another one is to have her never have a childhood illness. Okay? And then there's a third one. And the third one is to have your daughter become able to cure her own things.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So, and I take it she's your buddy, right? You guys like being together, and
yes.
You have a lot of fun together.
She hasn't discovered I don't know everything yet.
Well, see, the good stuff about this is that when she starts getting her own signals, she'll discover that it doesn't matter whether you know everything or not. Because she has access to knowing it. She can know everything, which is better than having a mommy who knows everything. And see, that's what I like about doing this with people for me, because I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be their mommy who knows everything. I can be me, and you can be you, and you can know what you need to know. And you don't have to ask me a bunch of stupid questions that I don't want to. Right, But the question you asked was good about how do I do this with my daughter. That's a good question. I like that kind of question. That's a good question. I mean, there are questions that I enjoy answering. Okay, let's start with something very basic, okay? But I want to say that we're going to have to meet a whole bunch of times to do this, program for your daughter. That we're not going to do everything in this one sitting. But this is the first we'll start with this. Okay, take your gravitational body and link it with hers. What's her name?
Chihana.
Okay, Gianna, I'm going to do the same thing, by the way. So we're both linking our gravitational bodies with Gianna. Now, can you feel her gravitational body?
Well, I can't say whether it was ever separated.
Okay, I'll give you a hint about the gravitational body. When you were a subatomic particle, you had one. So that's how small it is and how fast it moves. And whenever you look at it, or your own or somebody else's, you're actually like seeing a very greatly magnified version of it. And usually it's not around the physical body, because it's always off doing something, because it goes out and it reads codes in other gravitational bodies and other bodies, and DNA codes in plants, animals, people, whatever, And it's always gathering things that it thinks you might need, which then it transfers to the spiral body, which then then that puts it in the DNA. But it also reads your DNA. It's like going around reading things all the time. So look at her gravitational body, and do you see anything that seems like it might be, that you might be able to erase it?
Kind of had an image of as if it was spinning, but it was warbling, like the warble that.
That's good. So just grab it and sort of steady it. And okay, now you're not visualizing this, right? You're actually seeing the real.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not a visualization. That's important, because people try to do visualizations where they don't know what we're talking about, Okay, so this is an example of how to do Immunics with a baby. Now your daughter's too. See, babies can't do Immunics for themselves. Your daughter is getting to the point where she can do Immunics with herself.
Pretty soon, I think, yeah.
And so what you're going to do, when you're with her, you're going to do Immunics in front of her, for her. Like you'll do the same thing I just did with you. You'll just say, I'm grabbing your gravitational body, can you feel that, or something like that. You can ask her if she can, then she can maybe start feeling her bodies. And you don't have to worry about her testing with her fingers. She'll see your test, and she'll probably start to get finger signals. But after a while, you can tell her to see if she can get a finger signal. But at first, just do things with her, and see if she can do it too,
Yeah, well, she likes to copy me, with the EFT and stuff. She does that sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and I was doing that for her too. So, and I've been kind of experimenting a little bit with Immunics with her, although sort of half-heartedly, because I wasn't quite sure what the heck I was doing. And I noticed that when I do testing for her, that it's a different finger from mine. So her responses come from my first finger, and my responses come from the second finger.
So you test for her sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Put your finger back there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's just test one thing. Did Gianna cure anything when I did that with her gravitational body?
Did Gianna cure anything when I did that with her gravitational?
See if you get an involuntary finger movement in one of your fingers.
Yeah, the first one.
Okay.
Just pushes down.
Was that her finger or the you finger?
That's her finger.
Okay, so she actually cured something when you did that. So that's important to realize, that when it seems to us like we're curing them, but actually they're curing. We also do probably cure them, but they cure things. And also, you've tested her willingness. She's obviously willing to cure things. Because, somebody's grandmother gets cancer and they say, well, she won't do this, but can I cure her? And I say, sure, try it. And they try it, and 5 minutes later she's got the cancer back because she wants to have the cancer.
Yeah.
And she's got to cure it for herself.
Yeah.
All right, so this is lesson number 1 in the cure program for 2-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And she is now in the program curing herself. She cured herself.
Mm-hmm.
You like that? That's good, right?
Yeah.
I can see you're happy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You look very
what
happy.
a powerful woman she will grow up to be. I mean, to have it from 2 years old and to spend her whole life,
she's going to be way more powerful than you and me.
Wow, like a million times. Like I can't even.
Well, you know what?
Even imagine.
I'll tell you a little story. When this goes up on a web page, and you see it on a web page, you're going to see some movies with a boy and his mother. And he started when he was 4. That's when she found it. No, wait, he started earlier, and she was curing him the way you were just doing. And so she stopped him from getting sick. He was very sickly, and she looked for something that she could use to cure him and stumbled on this. That's how she got into it. And he stopped getting sick. So, but you'll see some movies and him doing other things and so on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I about that permission thing, people wanting to be cured. My husband, he does EFT and stuff with me too. But when I said, "Do you want to learn Immunics?" he said, "I am so full of energy healing. I don't want to learn anything new right now." Because for him, it's kind of like a sideline. It's not a main thing.
Let me tell you another story. You know, Ross. You know who Ross is? Well, Ross. Ross has her sister. She wanted her sister to cure something. I can't remember what it was. And she kept trying to explain this to her sister, and her sister kept saying, "No, I'm not interested. I don't want. It's not my kind of thing." And then she did it in front of her, and her sister started doing it. So now her sister does it.
Well, that's the thing about my husband. He's like, "That's too complicated. I can't. I don't want to learn that." He said, "Can you just do it for me?"
Well, you know, he's right. It's very complicated, you know.
He doesn't have any problem. Like, he absolutely does not have any, like, resistance to it. He just is, like, lazy about it, you know. He's like, "Can you just do it for me? I don't want to have to learn all this, like, complicated stuff, you know."
Right.
So
I can hear exactly what he's talking about. And you know what?
Complex.
You know, he'll assimilate it a little at a time. It's fine. He's open to it. You know, he'll be fine.
He has like a hemorrhoid problem that's quite bad.
Oh, I can help him.
Yeah.
I have a hemorrhoid problem, and I cured it, and I can show him exactly. And you know, he's got to change what he eats. You know.
Oh, really?
Yes. I should talk to him actually, but not now. I got to go shortly. But I also want to tell you to share. I want you to write about this and try to convey what we did on Facebook. And I will share that when I see it.
Okay.
So just write it on your wall. And I'll go to your wall and I'll share it. I'll do that later. I know you're probably going to... Can you think you could do it before you go to bed?
Well, it depends on how grouchy my 2-year-old gets.
Okay, well, we'll see. But, you know, whenever, tonight or tomorrow morning or whatever, while it's fresh in your mind is best.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will go for now. This is wonderful, and I'm really enjoying doing this with you, by the way.
Thank you. I'm really honored that you can spend time with me. That's excellent.
It's a joy to be with you, and we will make another appointment for really soon, okay?
Okay.
When looks good for right now?
Well,